Okay, I'm at the drum kit and I have RhythMachine loaded up on my laptop here, and I'm going to show you how you can use RhythMachine to come up with fills and grooves in this lesson. So if you check out some of the other RhythMachine videos for the details about what everything does, that will make it clearer. In this video I'm just going to show you the setups that I use for these. So in the setup area I've got 2 bars set. Over here I've dragged the grey bar to play a random pattern for the second bar, and I'm creating 4 beats of fill and repeating it 1,000 times. And then in the sequencer here, if you double click, I've programmed in just a regular doon doon get groove, and I've said mute in the random pattern. So we'll get fill for a bar, and then we'll get groove for a bar, and then we'll get fill for a bar. So that was a nice little fill, and that's going to repeat basically 1,000 times. So that lets it keep going until you've got it, and then if you hit the N key, it will generate a new fill. So let's start over. Ooh, okay. Okay, so that's going, and when you're happy that you've got that, press N, and then you have a new one to work with. So I have a click in the background which I can mute if I like. So that was the cowbell that's gone out of the background. Put it back in. And if I like, I can turn up the ghost notes in between. Louder. So that's filling in all the gaps on the snare drum. And I could diddle those as well. Give you kind of more complicated fills. So let me turn those back. Oops. Okay, so other ways to make it more complicated are to add more drums. So I could put in another tom. Now we've got 2 toms that we've got to hear, whatever. It's not as easy as it looks. So really good ear training exercises. And if you were to put all of these sliders up, then you'd get some crash in there, and some ride, and some hi-hat, and a bit of kick. So you can come up with some really cool fills this way. So that's how I use it for working on fills. Now I want to show you how I use it for working on grooves. So the most basic way that I'll use RhythMachine for working on grooves is to go into the sequencer, and I'll leave the hi-hat in there and a backbeat in there, but I'll take out all of the kick drums, and I'll say persist with the hi-hat in the random pattern, persist with the snare drum in the random pattern. Now instead of having a bar of click, which is just the groove, and then a bar of random pattern, what I want is for the whole thing to be random pattern. So I'm going to set the bars to a lot, and I'm going to drag this grey bar all the way to the beginning. So basically this counter is going to work through here, but it'll play 4 beats of random pattern, then it will repeat it, rather than having parts where it's just the click. So we've got 4 beats. So if I tell this random pattern to play on the kick drum, what we're going to hear is this. And whatever random rhythms are generated will be played on the kick. So that's basically taken the hands as a system and the right foot as a 4-beat melody, which will then repeat. So if I start off with just the 8th note slider up, if I pull this one down, then we'll just get 8th note kick patterns, so combinations of the one and the and. So then I can press N to get a new variation. Press N again. Similar. So there's only so many possibilities you can have with 4 beats where you're just using 8th notes. So let's put the 16th note slider up. So again, this is basically pushing up all of the 16th note permutations. If you prefer, you can put them up individually for the ones that you're interested in. So again, let's generate a pattern. Far more interesting. Good. Press N for a new pattern. That's nice. One more. Again, nice. So that's a pretty cool way of coming up with bass drum parts for a straight ahead pattern. Now, if you want to make the groove more interesting, you could put in broken 16th notes for the hi-hat, so you can change the basic groove here. So you can do whatever you want with this ostinato between the hi-hat and the snare drum. And that's just generating different bass drums underneath. So another thing you could do is bring in the triplets, and that will give you more interesting variations. For example, if I only have triplet variations, then we've got an 8th note hi-hat and triplet kick. That's pretty cool. So that's giving you bass drum variations. So another thing you could do is, let's put the sequencer, okay, that's a straight ahead sequencer. So let's say we want some ghost note snare things in there. So let's go back to 16th note permutations and the 8ths as well. And I'll put in a small probability that we'll get snare drum hits. So this will add some snare hits to the groove, but we still have the backbeat in there in the sequencer. Good. That's it. course, you could slow the tempo down if these things are hard to play. But basically, that's the setup that I use for coming up with basic fills and basic grooves. So in the next video, I'm going to show you how you can come up with some really cool linear grooves using RhythMachine, and they are things that will be like really random. These are things that already are pretty interesting and you might not come up with of your own accord. And you can, if you don't like the sound of one, just hit N and you get a new pattern straight away. And you're going to come up with some really fun things that way. So if you want to find out more about RhythMachine, check out my website, joecrabtree.com/software. That's where you can go to get it. And there's also a little Facebook panel on there, so you can like the RhythMachine Facebook page and be notified of future videos with demos and that kind of thing. So thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.